Hello, and thank you to our retirees for tuning in for today's town hall. Your support and engagement are an important part of our work at the university, and we are so happy you're with us today. I'm Marshall Stewart, University of Missouri System and Chief Engagement Officer and MU Vice Chancellor for Extension and Engagement, and I'll be your moderator today. Today's town hall is meant to provide you with an update on our university and other information that matters to you, including details on our pension plan and much, much more. Before we begin today, I'd like to thank Dr. Moon Choi, our president of the University of Missouri, for being with us today. I know he's no stranger to you, and he'd like to bring you some greetings and say a few words. So at this point, I'll turn it to Dr. Choi.
Thank you, Marshall. I appreciate this opportunity, and I'm going to put it on gallery mode to see who's on. All right, it's great to see everyone. So first of all, let me thank you for your support of the university. I know that you've dealt with the same challenges living in the state of Missouri with the pandemic and all the other issues that we faced as an institution and a community. I would have to say that our university fared very well throughout this process because we have committed individuals, committed faculty, staff, and students who made important contributions to our university. So I want to thank you for that. Now, part of my charge today for Marshall is to provide an update on how things are going at the university. And all four universities are doing well. The financial situation at all four universities are better now than they were when we entered a pandemic back in March. And much credit goes to the chancellors, the provosts, the CFOs, and CHROs throughout the university who made the determination early on, back in May of 2020, to go into a very restrictive but also necessary financial model. And at that time, we decided to cut the first quarter fiscal year 21 budget for all of our campuses by 50%, and then determine at each quarter how to make adjustments. And what that allowed us to do was to figure out what are our revenues, what do our revenues look like, what do our expenses look like, and make adjustments as needed. And some actions were pretty dramatic, including furloughs, layoffs, canceling of contracts that were no longer needed, and also significant cuts to expenses. Our travel budget went down dramatically, as you can imagine, but there were other costs, including getting our campuses ready for in-person operation that began in about June of 2020 for all four of our campuses on a limited basis. And so now we're in a position where we can make some additional investments for the future. And all of the leaders have been given opportunities to make a case for strategic investments that can be made at the four campuses. In addition to that, news coming out of Jeff City is very positive. And for those of you who've lived in this state for more than 15 years, you know how devastating Senate Bill 389 has been to our ability to generate revenues so that we can make investments in our three critical mission areas. Well, this is the first year that I can remember where there is a bill that is still being considered to repeal 389, and that's House Bill 297. And that bill received support of 128 to 14 in the House. And right now, probably today, it'll be voted on by the Senate. But in the Senate Education Committee, that bill came out of that committee with a vote of 7-1. And so we believe there's a good chance for it to receive support in the Senate and then go into conference and get support from the conference and to be signed by the governor. Now, by repealing the cap doesn't mean we are going to be increasing tuition increases that are double digits. Remember, that's what created the momentum to get Senate Bill 389 into place in 2007, 2008. But to have responsible tuition increases so that we can invest in the faculty and staff, because over the past 20 years, we've lost too many faculty and staff at this university and the three other universities that are part of the system. In fact, for the entire system from 2000 to 2020, we lost 400 faculty, tenure track, and we went from 2,300 to 1,900. And that is not a good sign for public research universities, so we have to reverse it. In addition to that, the governor, the state senate, and the state legislature supported a $10 million core increase for Next Gen. And the Next Gen building is on schedule. In fact, it's going to be completed in August, but the grand opening will be in October. And this is a collaboration with all four campuses to really make breakthroughs in cancer, vascular, and neurodegenerative diseases that benefit Missourians. And so we're very excited about the $10 million core increase, which is a permanent increase. In addition, the House and the Senate approved a $5.5 million increase that'll be shared primarily by UMKC, UMSL, and Missouri S&T. And the reason for that is the other universities that are not part of the system received a 3.7% increase of their core this year. So we made a case that the three other universities should receive it. Now, in the minds of some, they felt that the $10 million core increase really was the increase that we were going to get, and we were going to be stuck with just that amount. But Dusty and Dusty Schneiders and members of his team advocated strongly to get that $5.5 million increase. So this is the first time in at least, Joe, I'm looking at you and you're nodding. This is the first time in at least 5 or 6 years where we've seen an increase in our core budget from the state. Part of the reason is that the economy is doing well. It's rebounded nicely. There are plenty of funds available in one-time monies that came in through the federal government. But we can't lull ourselves into thinking that we are out of the woods. We have to be able to pivot, and pivot financially, and pivot if we ever have to go back into a remote operation, because while things look good now, there are parts of the world and parts of the United States that are seeing a resurgence of COVID. But throughout all of this, knowing that we have, dedicated faculty, staff, as well as our retired professionals, we know that we're going to make it through and do the things that are important for our university. And that is to keep focus on student success, research, and engagement. So with that, let me close my remarks. And I don't know if there's time for Q&A, Marshall, but let me know what happens next. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Choi. And we are going to be taking questions later. And certainly if any of those get directed to you, we'll make sure that we get those responded to, and we'll get those routed to you so that we can give that personal response that I know is always really important to you as our president. And thank you, Dr. Choi, for being with us today and taking the time, because I know our folks really appreciate it. And the great updates also are very important. With that, I'm going to go to Marcia Fisher. Marcia obviously is a really important part of our team here, serving in the chief HR position and really doing a great job with that. So with that, I'm going to go to Marcia Fisher.
Thank you, Marshall. So good morning. I appreciate having the opportunity to visit with you just a few minutes. And I thought I would take my time to share with you some happenings in our office. And I know that you engage with our benefits and retirement team frequently, and thought you'd appreciate having an update on some of that. Back some time ago, we were searching for that lead position over benefits and retirement. And you might imagine that we're pretty particular about who would be leading that area, and had multiple kind of searches nationally looking for the right person. We had the opportunity at that time to bring back Kelly Stuck, that some of you might remember led in that area and left to go to the University of Virginia. She's working with us now part-time and working closely with us in the retirement and the benefits area. At the same time, we were looking for our long-term leader in that area. And after multiple national searches, it was one of those situations where we realized the leadership and talent was sitting next to us and was internally part of our team. So I'm pleased to share with you that Jessica Baker has been promoted to Assistant Vice President in our office, and she is overseeing retirement and benefits, the service center, as well as compensation. And I'm really pleased to have her leading in that area, and I know that she'll do some great things. And we haven't quite hit our stride on where we want the service center, for example, to be in processes and efficiencies and customer service. And with her leadership, I know we'll get there. At the same time, we had an expanded role for Carol Wilson, that we looked at some of the processes related to benefits that were in the service center, and we decided they would better be met, the need, if they had the expertise of Carol and her team. So Carol's taken on an expanded role in taking some of those back, and we're really pleased to have her expertise in those areas. So really, with Kelly Stuck continuing to be part of that team and mentoring, and Jessica and Carol and their expertise, we have really a strong trio that are looking out over these areas, and we'll be providing you more information and answering questions today. My final update, just thought you might find some interest, is the consolidation of the MU and System HR office. We've always had a close working relationship, and we've further found ways to work together and meet the needs of the university. And so that's been an exciting development and a way that we hope to continue to improve our services and what we provide to not just the retirees, but all our employees, faculty, and staff at the university. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Marshall.
Thank you, Marcia, for those updates. And again, thank you, Dr. Choi, for your updates as well. It's always good to hear good news and see folks moving up into positions as you described, Marcia. Certainly says a lot about the talent that you have in your team. And that's always exciting to see people get those advances in their career. I'd also like to thank our Retirees Association. They've been an incredible asset to us across the university for so many years. Their collaboration and support, you as members, has been really important for us. And I want to thank the association for hosting this event. This is something that we see as important, as it allows us to communicate and to share with you those updates. You know, the Retiree Association affiliates with each University of Missouri system school, and we're able to work with you in collaboration to serve the interests of the retirement communities and to make sure that we, again, work with you to improve the welfare of our overall university system. So we want to, again, thank you for being with us today, and again, continue that conversation, those collaborations that are so important. If you're not already, we invite you to consider joining us for education advocacy opportunities. We've started launching those recently, allowing us to keep people up to date on the advocacy issues like Dr. Choi described, so people can be aware of what's going on in Jeff City and how they can be a part of those conversations. So again, exciting for us to keep you updated on news, different events going on in the university, as well as those opportunities where you can be an advocate for us. Now, as we give a quick overview of our agenda, I want to, first of all, some of our retirement finance experts will be sharing with us a presentation regarding the state of the university's pension plan and our funding, which again is a very important issue I know that you're tuning in for today. We also want to highlight our new HR efforts, provide information on email policies, and share how activities related to our employees and retirees are collaborating to improve retiree communications. We know that communications is key in anything we do. We want to make sure we're doing a good job with that. Many attendees have already submitted questions ahead of time. Our experts will be with us to respond to those questions and make sure that you have a time also to share questions that you have that come up maybe during this presentation. So again, we'll have time for that, but we're also going to take a close look at those questions that have already been submitted. I understand over 200 questions were submitted. We've taken some time to put those together and hopefully package those in a way that will allow us to get to the real issues you're interested in today. Because of time constraints, when you come up with your live questions, obviously we may not get to all of them, but we'll make sure that we address those as best we can and then provide you some follow-up, as I mentioned earlier, on things that you're really interested in. With that, I'm going to take some time now to introduce our experts and turn the show over to them, because that's really who you came to hear from today. We're happy to welcome Becky Fowler, our Chief Information Security Officer, who will be with us today. We're also excited that Joe Turner, our membership and co-chair and past president of Mura, is going to be with us today to give some updates. Carol Wilson, who is the benefits director of the system, will be with us today. We're also excited that Jessica Baker, who's just been mentioned, an assistant vice president for HR, and Eric Vogelweid, who is our assistant vice president for finance and our controller, will also be joining us. Jessica, I'm going to let you begin and start telling our colleagues about the university pension plan, some of the updates you have, and then you'll be pulling Eric in as part of that conversation. Jessica, I'm going to go to you now.
Thanks so much for that welcome, Marshall. As Marshall mentioned, I'm Jessica Baker. I'm the Assistant Vice President for HR for the University of Missouri. I've helped many of the HR programs and support them for our university community. Benefits, HR service delivery, our retirement programs, as Marcia mentioned earlier. Our fall town hall provided information on retiree insurance and other benefit plans. This time we'll provide you updates on our pension plan and the university's financial state. I always find it important to start any pension conversation by reaffirming that retirees currently receiving a benefit will not see any changes in the pension they receive, and future pension retirees will not see a change in the benefit they will receive at retirement. leaders continue to collaborate with TRAC, our Total Rewards Advisory Committee, to manage those assets prudently. So now, if we want to move forward, we'll look at some numbers. As of FY19, prior to the COVID pandemic and the financial crisis, the university's pension plan was 82% funded. As of FY 2020, our plan is funded at 80%. That is better funded than the national average for public pension, which, as reported by Pew, is at 70%. So how will our pension look in the future, especially as we begin to recover from this major public health crisis? First, let's look at our two major sources of funding for the pension plan. First being the university and employee contributions, and next our investment earnings. Let's start with information on how we invest. The university's retirement trust is invested for long-term growth. We've reduced risk with broadly diversified investments. The trust employs a total return approach with an emphasis on balanced growth, and it's invested in several areas like equities, fixed income, real estate, private debt, and private equity to diversify the investment portfolio. Our investments recovered from steep losses in March of 2020. We ended our plan year in September of 2020 with a return assumption, or with a return of 5.2%. That's only 2% less than our 7.2% return assumption. At 6 months into the new plan year, March 31st of this year, the investment portfolio has already returned 13.5%. That's 6.3% above the 7.2 annual return assumption. If you have questions about how we invest or how our investments are performing, please feel free to send your questions. I think a few have already come in through the Q&A function, and we'll try to address those as we can. I also am happy to mention we have Tom Richards on the call today. He's the System Treasurer and Chief Investment Officer, so he can help us out with any of your questions that you might have. In the meantime, I'll give you one other retirement-related update. Our university provides a calculator to estimate pension benefits for faculty and staff who are planning for their retirement. We're currently making some really neat improvements to that calculator. The changes will allow for greater self-service functionality. It will reduce manual work, and that will allow us to provide a better service with shorter turnaround times. In addition, towards the end of the year, new retirees will be able to complete all of their retirement election paperwork online, and they'll be able to access self-service income verification. So I'm really looking forward to the convenience that these new updates are going to bring to our organization, and we will continue to share more information as we get closer to the time they launch.
Thank you for that update, Jessica. Now we'll turn to Carol Wilson for news on the retiree benefits. Carol?
Thanks, Marshall. Good morning, everyone. We are in the very early stages of our 2022 benefit plans for our active employees, but I have some updates on retiree insurance and some reminders about tools and resources for our retirees. First, I'd like to update you on our Medicare Advantage RFP process. We started the process last February, and our review committee is currently going through the bids and evaluating the carriers that submitted. We asked for two options for the Medicare Advantage. The first one is the Medicare Advantage only with the prescription drugs remaining with Express Scripts. And then also we asked the carriers to bid on the Medicare Advantage and combining the prescription drugs together as one carrier. And in addition, we took the opportunity to ask the carriers to bid on a fully insured pre-65 options for our retirees that are not yet Medicare. We just wanted to have it exploratory, took the option to see what's available, if anything, for that population. We are, as I mentioned, we are evaluating the bids right now. We have the finalist presentation scheduled for the week of May 17th. And we hope to have a finalist. We're hoping by the end of June, and we will be sending out communications to the retirees as we get more information. I wanted to also mention that we received bids from Aetna, Anthem, Humana, and United Healthcare. So those are the bids that we're reviewing right now. Okay, then I want to also provide information on some tools and some resources to just remind our retirees what we have. First, with United Healthcare, our fitness vendor is Renew Active and is available to all retirees enrolled in the Medicare plan throughout the university. Renew Active offers a free gym membership at large networks of gyms nationwide. You can also find out more information on the United Healthcare website about Renew Active. Also, I want to remind that Medicare retirees are eligible for the House Calls and Nurse Online. House Calls is an annual in-home preventive healthcare system visit that where a provider comes to your house and reviews your medical history and current medications and answers any health questions that you may have. Also, the Nurse Line gives you the access to a registered nurse who can answer your health questions anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Finally, all Medicare eligible and non-Medicare eligible retirees and their dependents have access to virtual visits. This has been a great resource to have to utilize, especially during a pandemic. It's available on most devices, and it's great for non-emergency concerns. And also those doctors can write a prescription for you. That's what we have for the resources. If you have any questions, please drop them into the chat. We'll be happy to answer them.
Thanks, Carol. We appreciate that update. And I know that our folks will want to take advantage of all those many programs you have just made them aware of. Now I'll say hello to Becky Fowler, who will give us an update on email policies that affect our entire university community. Becky, I'll turn it to you.
Hi, thanks, Marshall, and hello to all of our retirees. My name is Becky Fowler. I'm the Chief Information Security Officer, and I am filling in for Beth Chancellor. And as Marshall mentioned, I'm here to give you an update on how our email policies are changing to help us keep our university's information secure. Phishing and similar attacks are becoming common and sophisticated, and we've had some email-related security incidents over the past few years. So historically, we haven't had a formal email policy, but with new regulations and legal responsibilities, we knew it was time to make a change. So over the past several months, we've gathered input from retiree association leaders and individual retirees, interfaculty council, multiple faculty councils, staff advisory council, members of student government, and experts in legal, risk management, human resources, compliance, and other areas. And these conversations have helped inform new email policies that apply to all users with a University of Missouri email address: faculty, staff, students, retirees, and more. In general, our updated policies and procedures are meant to provide consistency and to reduce risk by increasing security and reducing our footprint and addressing or eliminating the presence of sensitive data in our email. So before I go any further, I do want to emphasize that retirees with active email accounts will continue to have access to those accounts. Our new email policy, which is UM Policy 12006, outlines eligibility for email accounts, and that does include all retirees who've maintained their accounts. Now, future retirees may be able to retain their university email accounts also to support academic or research endeavors or to facilitate university business or volunteer activities. Future retirees will need to be sponsored by leadership in their college, school, or division, or by a recognized committee, organization, or association. And they will need to submit a request upon retirement. Retirees who did not initially submit that request, but down the road have a need for an account for one of those reasons, can go back and request an account as well. One thing I do want to point out is that our new email policy will require the elimination of abandoned accounts. So these are any account that has not been accessed in a 6-month period. Those accounts will be locked, and those locked accounts will then have their content deleted 45 days after the lock date. So apart from eligibility for an account, there are a few other elements of the email policy that may affect retirees. There are some security standards that we've already been practicing, but we've actually put them into policy now. First of all, university emails should only be used for university business. So this may mean that you need to create a personal email account to minimize your personal use of your university email. Secondly, we ask you not to use your password on non-university systems. We have had a number of email account breaches because of this issue, and you should not use your password on any personal online device or a non-work related system for that reason. Mobile devices such as phones with access to university email must use a PIN or facial recognition. And then highly sensitive data like social security numbers or credit card numbers or patient information must be transmitted through an encrypted mechanism. One thing we were really asking people to focus on is that email is a transactional communication tool. So it's not really designed to be used as a storage system, which is a change for some people. Instead, what we want is for people to save emails or attachments to an appropriate electronic storage system. And then finally, we are putting in our policy that you should not set automatic forwarding of your university email to a non-university email address. Finally, we're going to implement what we call a sweep of mailboxes, which means that all university email users will need to be actively managing the contents of their mailbox. So emails in your inbox will be automatically deleted 5 years after you receive them. And emails in your sent items folder will automatically be deleted 5 years after you create them. Any email that you have that needs to be retained longer than 5 years just needs to be moved to a subfolder in your mailbox or to a different file storage location. And then additionally, deleted items will be automatically deleted 30 days after you choose to delete the email. So those are the highlights. Even though the policies are approved, it's going to take us a while to implement all of these elements. For example, the sweeping that I just referred to, That will not happen until everyone has been notified and communicated with and has been provided with time to review the content of your mailbox and move messages you may need to retain to subfolders. We do have a lot of work to do on the IT side to develop instructions and training and to automate processes in support of this new policy. But I do want to assure you that you will receive ongoing communication and instructions to help you manage and adapt to these changes along with the rest of the university community. In the meantime, we encourage you to read more about our efforts on our email modernization webpage, and I believe we're going to drop the link to that in our chat.
Thank you, Becky. A great update on something that really touches all corners of our university community. Now we'll ask Dr. Joe Turner of the MU Retirees Association to share some exciting communications efforts that will help new retirees and improve connections with existing retirees. Joe?
Thank you, Marshall, and hello, fellow retirees. It's great to be with you. As you probably will see eventually, I am joining you from my basement studio, like many of you today. We are an important constituency of the university, and over 10,000 of us, in fact. So I really want to say thank you to Dr. Choi and all of the members of the team who are speaking today for providing these great updates. I do want to say that retirees, the four associations are working to be sure that your voice is heard, whether you're a member or not. We also invite all of you to join, because there's more of us who are part of those voices, the stronger we are and the more effective we are in talking about the needs of retirees. Just some examples, as Rebecca was speaking about the new changes in email policy, your associations worked very hard and actively to shape those policies and to influence them. I also, as Carol spoke about the Total Rewards Advisory Committee, Carol and Jessica, there are two retirees who serve on that body, Dr. Betsy Garrett and Dr. Robert Pipo. They are there speaking as decisions are made about carriers and providers to help shape those so that your interests are included. We do meet regularly with the system leaders, and our goal is to help all retirees, again, improve communications. I want to share just a couple of high-level things that are going on. There are certain pieces that we're doing to strengthen communication in 2021 and into the future. Some of those are for new retirees, or what we might even call pre-retirees. And Mike, I'm going to invite you to go to the next slide, if you would, please. There it is. So for pre-retirees or new retirees, there's going to be more information on a system-wide web presence about how to participate in your associations. There will be more information in those materials for pre-retirees about these groups, how to stay engaged, and also to give you a chance, new retirees, to opt in to say, I want to know more. Please let me know about retiree opportunities as I move into full retirement myself. So those are some of the things that are happening for our new or pre-retirees. For current retirees, several of the things that are going on, again, we mentioned the work on communication, improving email communications. The other piece that we're most excited about is providing, and Mike, go ahead to the next slide, please. Allowing you as a retiree to say, this is my preferred email for my HR. What we've realized is that as many of us have transitioned into retirement, we may not have maintained our EDU account. We may have other accounts that we use more often. And so we learned that we were missing some people because we didn't have their preferred email. So the system is working on ways for you to tell HR what email you want to receive email communications, but also to ensure that those who don't use email or don't have access are included in the loop. We don't want any retiree to miss out on the town halls like this, to miss out on the Connections quarterly newsletter that comes from Dr. Stewart and Dr. Choi talking about retiree opportunities. So a lot of great work going on. At this time, there's no action required on your part, but please be watching for how these changes, these opportunities are going to be implemented. And I would encourage you as a retiree who's taken the time to participate in a town hall to reach out to your own association. I will say we know that retirees move and don't always live in the community where they might have done their work. All four of these associations would welcome you as a member, your spouses, your dependents. Come and join us so that we have a stronger voice for retirees and that we as stakeholders can be even more actively engaged in supporting our university as we move toward to the future. So Marshall, thanks for the chance to speak on behalf of all retirees, and also thanks to all the team here for giving us such great support.
Well, thank you, Joe, for your leadership and that of your colleagues. It's wonderful to continue the great collaborations we have with our retirees. And as you've stated, such an important part of our continuing university family. I also want to thank all the experts who have given a great overview of the pension, retiree health plans, and the new IT policies and communications updates. What we're going to do now is open it up for some questions. And we've had some questions, as I mentioned earlier, that have been submitted ahead. So we're going to take those first, and then later on, we will try to take some questions that are coming in. We ask that you use the Q&A function for anything you'd like to ask the panelists. We'll try to, again, get those to them as best we can in the time we have. What we're going to do first is start with a few questions, again, that have been given already. We're going to start with Carol Wilson. Carol, we received a question about life insurance, and we thought maybe you could share your insights on this. Does coverage end at a certain age? And is it possible to retain life insurance coverage past that age?
Yeah, that's a great question. For most retirees with basic life insurance through the university, coverage continues until the end of the year in which they reach the age of 70. A few months before the retiree reaches age 70, Unum, our life insurance carrier, will reach out about converting the life insurance into an individual policy. They will send you information about it. You can also reach out to Unum beforehand if you have additional questions, and we can drop that number into the chat to help with that.
Carol, another thing is our team has gathered questions regarding healthcare premium cost and deductibles and what the university does to try to negotiate that with our providers. Can you give us some more insight into how we negotiate that and more information on that process that's used?
Yeah, you bet. I mentioned earlier the RFP that we're going through right now for the Medicare Advantage. And so we evaluate our plans and work with our providers each year to keep premium increases lower than they otherwise would be. In addition, we conduct regular competitive bids to ensure that we are providing high quality plans at manageable costs. And for example, talking about the Medicare Advantage plans mentioned earlier in the presentation, and our next competitive bid will be conducted in 2022, and we will be evaluating our vision and dental carriers. And there's a potential that we could change carriers based on the bids that we receive.
Okay, now we have a question from a retiree who says, and I quote, "I'm turning 65 in November, and I'd like to know how healthcare will work since I'll be eligible for Medicare plans. I still have a dependent who needs coverage. How is the plan cost calculated?"
Sure, that's another great question. You'll receive a packet from us about 90 days before you become Medicare eligible, and it will include details on your transition to the Medicare Advantage plans. Your share of the premium is determined by a formula that considers your age and years of service at retirement. The premium amounts will be included in your packet and will include information for all of the dependents that will continue coverage throughout the current plan. You can get an estimate of what your premiums will be through our retiree insurance premium estimator, and we can drop that link into the chat for you. We encourage you to reach out to our support professionals with the service center, with our HR service center. They can give you one-on-one guidance if you have additional questions.
And Carol, we're going to go one more question. We've got you in the hot seat now. We're hitting you with questions. Another retiree asked this question. "Some providers in northern Missouri no longer accept my insurance. What should I do?"
Right. Well, I know that's frustrating when providers drop being as an in-network provider. we encourage you to reach out to Unite Healthcare. Unite Healthcare is a nationwide network of providers, and they can help you find another in-network provider. We also have a resource that we have within our office. We have a nurse liaison that's a Unite Healthcare employee. We can give you information on her contact information, and she's a great resource to help find in-network providers. But the best thing to do is to reach out to Unite Healthcare to find another in-network provider.
Well, thanks, Carol. We're going to let you off the hot seat for a minute, and we're going to bring Becky Fowler in. Some questions for Becky that have come up related to information security and email changes. Becky, we have a retiree who is asking, I want to transition off email. Is it okay to set my account to forward to a Gmail account to facilitate this transition?
Sure. It does go against our IT email policy to forward university email to an outside email address. And a lot of that has to do with Freedom of Information Act requests and some obligations we have for electronic discovery. But you can help facilitate a transition from your university email to a personal email by setting an automatic or an out-of-office response on your university email that directs those who reach out to you there to connect with you via your new personal address that you've set up.
Very good. We also received questions, Becky, several requests actually, for additional information about outdated email clients. How can retirees ensure they meet security requirements for email clients?
Sure. We've received a lot of questions about this as well. For those of you who might not be aware, we recently implemented some security changes to prevent access to your university email account through any old or outdated client or a version of Outlook older than 2010. And we did that for security reasons. Prior to that change, we did notify retirees who were going to be impacted, and they received an email to let them know what they needed to do. The good news is that change has been made. So if you are accessing your email right now and you have no problems accessing it, then you are good to go. You're using an updated client that meets our security requirements. In many cases, even an older device like an older phone can still work as long as the client that you're using is updated. As always, if you have any problems checking your email, a quick way to check it is to do so from any web browser securely. And you can also always contact your campus help desk for assistance if you're having problems.
You know, Becky, I bet a lot of people are kind of like me. You finally figure out how to use something, they want to update it. You're always like, oh, go again. So I get the essence of the question. I understand. Another question that came in was one about distribution. Shortly after I retired, this person asked, I stopped receiving weekly MU info emails. Why is that?
So the membership list for a lot of our newsletters, including the MU info, are built dynamically. It's done via automated process. And that means the list filters based on active employees, and they're not always configured in a way to pick up people who have a retiree record. There are discussions regarding potential ways to implement either an opt-in or a subscription type membership for specific newsletters, but that is going to take some technical investigation and support in order for us to implement it more broadly and to automate it. In the meantime, though, for the MU info specifically, you can access that information on the MU info webpage, which includes the same content. And I think we can probably put that link in the chat as well.
And a last question regarding software, Becky. This person asks or says, I serve on a university committee that wants to use Microsoft Teams, but I am unable to access it due to software license. Is there anything I can do?
Sure. It is true that based on our Microsoft license, retirees don't typically have access to Teams through the desktop application. They do have the option to access Teams through the web-based application. But if there's a retiree that needs to use Teams for official business, their department can contact IT and request an ad hoc license be assigned to them, and that will get them access to the desktop version of Teams.
Well, thanks, Becky. And that's another example of when you don't know the answer, just call and ask, and perhaps a solution can be found. So great insights. You know, last, we're going to go to Jessica and Eric to respond to pension questions. First, Eric, question coming in, will there be will there be pension annuity reductions for 2021 and 2022?
Thanks, Marshall. Let me first start by saying that the pension benefits to current retired employees are important to the university, and the university is required by law to pay those benefits. There will not be any reductions in the annuity payments for fiscal year 21 or fiscal year 22. Retirees are protected to the extent current laws and surrounding public pensions remain current laws surrounding public pensions remain in effect. If any changes were to occur, it'd likely be a part of broader reform, but we don't really see anything on the horizon related to those topics. Whereas our retirees have really been, the universities funded that commitment, and retirees are important to the university and their future. Our employees through this downturn have experienced significant impact. We've had over 8,000 temporary or pay reductions or furloughs, in addition to nearly 1,000 layoffs. And all of that have been efforts the university's taken to balance the budget on its side. But the pension plan remains funded along with the retiree payments out of it.
I know that's very good news for our retirees, and very grateful to hear that. So thanks, Eric. Jessica, a question for you. Can you help us understand when retirees can expect the cost of living, COLA, increase in their pensions?
Sure. So it's important for all of us to understand that ad hoc cost of living adjustments are not considered unless the plan is consistently funded on an actuarial basis. And so those excess funds is what is used historically to fund ad hoc cost of living adjustments. Thanks, Marshall.
All right, and here's another question going back to Eric. I'm not going to let him off that quick. Did the pension fund experience any liquidity issues during the crisis of 2020? And how low did the portable alpha cash reserve go?
Yeah, thanks, Marshall. The university, in March 2020, when the markets locked up, the university had ample liquidity on hand to meet both its retirement and its working capital obligations. The operating cash reserve never went below approved levels in either the general pool or within the retirement fund. So we remain well positioned for that. We do hold a lot of liquidity, but the reason why we hold a lot of liquidity is for scenarios just like what happened with COVID and some of what happened with the market freezing.
And Eric, here's a follow-up question. Has the pensions portable alpha program produced excess returns since implementation? Given performance, can you explain the desire to expand the portable alpha program to 22% with an allowable range of 27%?
Yeah, so the portable alpha program has produced excess returns since inception. So fiscal year to date, or as of April 30, our programs generated nearly $55 million in net income for the retirement fund. We continue to look at the portable alpha program and the role it will play well into the future. I think the important thing to note is the university is doing everything it can to maximize investment returns while taking appropriate risks. The thing to remember about our pension plan is there are two sources for the pension plan. There's contributions into the plan, and then investment earnings on those contributions that fund everybody's pension payments. So, to the extent that we can maximize those returns, not being able to change or not really having a desire to change payments out of the plan, it reduces the university's contributions or holds them harmless. I think, I know that there's been questions around what's the plan to fund the pension. The university will continue to make the fully required contribution into the pension plan because of the status that is. And we would continue to fund it out into the future and hopefully over time, get it back to a fully funded level.
Thanks, Eric. And we do have some time for some live questions now. So I'm going to bring Becky back up. Becky, I know you won't be surprised that there are questions around the email issues. And let me try to break these down a little bit and ask you a couple questions. One is, I understand the university is migrating away from box. What will happen to files currently stored / shared in Box? And what is the timeline for that change?
Sure. So we are actually migrating away from Box to OneDrive, which is a Microsoft product for a variety of reasons. We've engaged a third-party consultant who recently concluded a pilot effort. Essentially, that all of those files will be moved on the back end. So individual users will not have to go in and drag and drop their files from Box to OneDrive. I believe the target date to have that done is July 15th of this year. There's a lot of communication that has to go out to individuals, including retirees. And they were waiting for that pilot program, which just wrapped up, I think, last week to get done so that they could have some lessons learned and kind of smooth some bumps out. But if you have content in your active Box file right now, you will not lose it and you will not lose access to it when it's over in OneDrive.
Well, that was a question they had. So you've already hit the OneDrive question. That was great. You knocked out 2 in 1. Another question though, Becky, they've got for you is what system storage are recommended for use for maintaining emails to avoid having them swept? If they want to say, how do they do that?
Yeah, so without going too deep into records management, which is one of the reasons why we're performing this sweep, is because we want to ensure that people are retaining what they need to retain, but not retaining things they don't need. We would recommend, it really depends on the content of the email and why you're saving it. You can save emails into OneDrive. You can save, if you happen to have older personal emails that you want to get out of your university mailbox, you could save those to a third-party space like Google Drive or Microsoft space that you may have. If you're retaining an email because of the business value that it has, you may need to put that in the system of record for that. For example, if you have a HR-related email, you may need to work with HR to determine whether you really need to retain that copy or whether they may have that information within their PeopleSoft environment or within one of their HR systems. So when we start communicating about the sweep, there will be a lot of information about what you need to be keeping, what you need to not keep, and then different options on places you could put it. And we are a ways out from getting that done because we want to make sure that we over communicate that so that people have an opportunity to make strategic choices about what they want to keep and what they want to go ahead and let get swept.
Becky, here's another interesting question that I think probably several people may have. It says, if I used an email other than my university email to contact a former colleague, my email often goes into junk mail. How can I ensure that doesn't happen?
So that's a difficult thing to address because a lot of that junk mail decision is happening on the recipient's email system. So you don't have a lot of control on where it goes. We would recommend that if you're using as a personal email, if you're using a commercial provider like Gmail or a personal Microsoft address, those senders have good reputations, so you're less likely to have that occur. But if you do find yourself in a situation where your mail is repeatedly getting miscategorized by the recipient, you can talk to our team and we can help work through what's happening on your end and possibly what's happening on the other end to address that issue.
So there again, just reach out and call somebody. It's simple, but that's probably the easiest things to do. And I would suggest you not email us because it may go to junk mail. We would never receive it. So
that's true. We're happy to help.
Yeah, making the call is the important thing there. We had a question for Carol, if we can bring Carol back. Are there spending limits? Are there spending limits and out-of-pocket limits on retiree health insurance policies? And if so, is the limit per person or per family?
Yes, there are out-of-pocket limits. There's one for an individual and there's one for family. And they are different depending if it's a pre-65 or Medicare Advantage retiree. We can post it on our FAQs and make sure that that's clear on there, but it is outlined on our website also.
All right, great. Thank you for that. And one of the other questions we had coming in was a question for me. And the question was, where can I get a copy of today's meeting's transcript? And the answer to that is the transcript will be provided along with video recording and answers to questions we received on our Retiree Association's web page. We will send that information out in an email in about a week. So in about a week, you'll get a follow-up from us that'll include the link to this session as well as other questions that have come in that maybe we don't get to in this session, to hopefully make sure you're well informed and getting what you need. And again, I would say if it's not there, something else you want to learn more about, do not hesitate to reach out, as we're all glad this entire team is to be of assistance to you. Carol, I did have one more come in for you. Please explain the difference between the 2 out-of-pocket maximums in Part D, in the Part D drug plan.
I'll have to do some research. I'm not aware of the 2 out-of-pockets. We have an out-of-pocket of $4,130 on the Part D. I'll have to do some research on the second one that's being referred to and put it into the FAQs.
All right, we'll make sure again that question gets into those FAQs again, just ensuring that we cover everything that people are interested in. Well, folks, I want to thank all of you for the wonderful dialogue, the questions that have come in. We didn't get to all the questions, but we're going to again have those in a frequently asked questions document. We'll make sure that we keep you informed. And as you've heard several people mention today in their dialogue, it's important for you to reach out to us. Reach out to us. If you can't find the answer, don't hesitate to do sort of that old school thing that I learned how to do a long time ago, pick up the phone and call someone, because oftentimes that's the easiest way to find the answer. And I know this team is more than happy to be of assistance to you. You know, we've received some campus specific questions regarding parking, COVID precautions, and more. And we're addressing system-wide questions today. We encourage you to reach out to your local retirees associations also for that support, because oftentimes they're the ones that know as much as anyone. So please reach out to them. Joe Turner mentioned it earlier, reaching out to those local, those campus associations is really important, and that network is so important. I also want to say thank you to our panelists as well, because they've joined us today and done a terrific job, I think, of providing some good insights. And I know every time I do one of these sitting in this chair, I learn a lot as well. We appreciate your attendance and your ongoing support, though, because without you, none of this would really happen, and it would be no reason for us to have this kind of great relationship we have with our retirees. Before I wrap up, I'd like to give you a few things to think about when you advocate on behalf of the university. You know, it's really important that all of us see our roles to do that. And as Dr. Choi said in his remarks, we've seen some remarkable things happen this year. We've seen a great move from the university to work with our legislators to see our budget stabilize and yet get some increases. He also mentioned the fact of the continuing work to address the issue of being able to have tuition increases when necessary to ensure the solvency and the stability of the university, not only for the University of Missouri and Missouri system, but also for all public universities. So again, just appreciate that. And as you do that advocacy, one of the things that we want to make sure of is that you know that we're in that business too. One of the things we've tried to do is to keep our university community internally and externally very much apprised of the things that are going on. On this slide, you see some basic principles that we share about knowing who you're talking to, you know, being and how you work in terms of being relentless and being flexible and being honest. And then also doing those things that are most important, being conversational, connecting, and supporting. Again, when it deals with the legislative side or the public policy side, we have a great government relations team who is willing to work with you. And we've worked hard to ensure that we help people know how to advocate. And you as retirees are an important part of that puzzle we put together to ensure that we have, with one voice, what we need to be saying for the University of Missouri system as we go forward to support and improve higher education in the state of Missouri. We ask you that when you get to know your legislators, that you know them in a meaningful way. You know, framing your interests and your goals and what we're trying to do as an institution is really important. And that takes practice, but you guys are well immersed in what this university is about, the system's about, and we ask you to continue to be great advocates for us. As always, we ask you to continue to keep us informed. If you learn things out there that we think can be helpful, please let us know, and we'll do the same with you, because we're in a partnership together to improve and grow higher education. We also want to encourage you to engage with us in an activity that's coming up in October. We have Extension Engagement Week for the University of Missouri system. It runs October 18th through 22nd. This year's engagement event, week-long event, will be focused on health. We're celebrating a very special opening that aligns with these efforts the grand opening of Next Gen Precision Health Building here on this campus at the University of Missouri in Columbia, and also a state-of-the-art facility here that will advance research, innovation, and delivery of healthcare in Missouri and the world. As a part of this statewide initiative during this week, the world-class facility will bring experts from around the world together under one roof to search for solutions for the world's greatest health challenges, as Dr. Choi described in his initial comments. Designed with a goal of rapid precision health advancement, this building will provide the facilities and the resources needed to integrate multidisciplinary laboratory space with advanced analytical instrumentation, computational processing, and pilot scale manufacturing to create a comprehensive precision health research pipeline to encompass the entire system, the entire state, the nation, and the world. So we're excited about that. So we hope you'll plan to join us for this important week when we focus on health and ask you to join us in those conversations. Finally, there are many opportunities to engage with the University Retirees Association. If you haven't connected with that Campus Retiree Association that Joe mentioned earlier, or learned about the benefits of membership, I highly encourage you to do so. I enjoy working with them, and I find them to be great colleagues who truly care deeply about not only their work in the Retiree Association, but the greater good of the university and the people of Missouri. The Retirees Association represent and advocate for the needs and interests of you as retirees, and they work hard to provide you with opportunities to stay engaged with the university. They also provide events, social programs, educational opportunities, communications, and town halls just like this, because without them, these kind of events would not take place. Being a part of your local retiree association is a great way to stay up to date with university news, and you can learn more about their associations by visiting the URL that really provides you this overview. So we encourage you to go to our website as you find these kind of resources. It's so important, and it's again a big part of us communicating that, and we're dropping that link into the chat as we speak to make sure you have that. Well, this wraps up our town hall today. I want to thank you for all of you for being with us. I want to thank our 4 campus retirees associations for their collaboration, support in hosting this important event. We know we couldn't get all the questions, and we did our best to answer those, but we also know that you'll have follow-ups, and we want you to know that, again, we'll make sure this recording is available. Again, a follow-up email in about a week to give you directions of how to find that, and also to seek other answers to questions that maybe we didn't get to today. In the meantime, if you have other things that you want to ask us, please reach out to us. Our HR Service Center is there to serve you. And again, that link is available for you to send an email if you wish, or again, reaching out and calling folks is always a suitable solution. So again, I want to thank you for joining us. We look forward to talking with you again in the fall. Thank you for all you do to support the University of Missouri.